14 minutes. Ah! All right, here we go.
Hello, dear tankers. My name is Michael. I'm the publishing director for World of Tanks in Europe.
I'd just like to say Michael is the nicest guy ever, and I love him very much. He's genuinely like... He has been there since the beginning. He's one of the old guard of people from, like, Wargaming EU. Literally one of the originals. This guy knows tanks, and he actually plays tanks. You might remember that we've played together a few times on stream. He's a absolute legend. This guy, I would trust this guy with my Punto. Let's just say it like that. I would let him drive my Punto. Michael is a lovely guy.
And for North America. Today, I would like to introduce you to a new video series the team has been working on. The goal of the series is to bring you guys as close to the World of Tanks development and the beats that we have planned for 2023 as possible. We are working on a lot of new features that are coming to the game this year. New tank lines, new game modes, and improvements of game mechanics. It's really, really exciting, and I would love you guys to have a look on what we have prepared for you right now.
We are excited to announce the arrival of Japanese tank destroyers, a line we've been
Cheeky! Blah 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 blah. Hold on. Buh. Okay, Chi-He is unchecked. Gonna have to play the Chi-He into rotation. Okay, fine. So, Type 3 Honi.
Developing and balancing.
Type 95 G-Ro.
Quite a while.
Cheeto SP.
File.
Hori 2. Hori 1. A premium tank. A Type 5 Kari. Is that tier 7? That's tier 8. So they've just confirmed the tier 8 premium tank. The Type 5 Kari.
The tier 4.
And then the top one is going to be the Hori 3.
Chi-He. This line of...
That's a bit funny. You go 2, 1, 3. I'm not sure they know how to count. But, okay.
Tanks has been awaited by players quite some time. These tank destroyers will feature thick frontal armor and big guns.
So I've seen some of the stats, and it kind of just looks like it's a big griller. It does look like a big chunky griller.
More commonly seen on the high seas. It will definitely not be the sneakiest or most subtle of tanks on the battlefield. Instead, making their presence known with their dangerous AP and HE shells, both having high alpha damage.
Interesting that they talk about HE, so is this going to be like the Japanese heavies were at one point, where it has some kind of speciality there?
In terms of playstyle, these tanks will be similar to the non-turreted German tank destroyer line.
I guess that makes more sense to say that they're similar to the Jagdpanzer 100 to the Griller, but visually they do appear more like a Griller. But yeah, I guess it'd be quite nice to have another German TD kind of line.
With variations depending on the tier. If you're the type of player who likes big...
Doesn't that look like just a fat Chi-Ri? It's just a fat Chi-Ri. Oh god, that thing looks like a Stur at a mill. And this thing kind of looks like a Griller / self-propelled gun. Pretty funky. This one looks like a self-propelled gun, literally.
Guns, and you cannot lie. And this line will be for you. Let's get started with details. Say hello to the Honi 3 at tier 5, which can carry a 75mm cannon and has decent armor. And at tier 6, the Type 95 G-Ro, based on the Type 95 Rogo chassis, and can equip either a 75mm or 105mm cannon.
I mean, that's not that special for tier 6 to have a 105mm cannon. I mean, like SU-100 has 122, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be special, kind of like HE derp.
Cheeto SP is like many tank destroyers of the period, based on turning the hull of a heavy or medium and adding a lot of armor and a big gun.
Looks a lot like a SU, is it called an SU-85I with that kind of design? You can kind of see like the German kind of like Jagdpanther vibe at the back as well.
At tier 8, we have the Hori 2. This will be a heavy tank destroyer carrying either a 105
It does look like a fat Chi-Ri, it's ridiculous.
or 120mm cannon.
And again, 120 doesn't sound that special because at tier 8, a Ferdinand has 128 with 490 alpha. So it'll be interesting to see how Wargaming are going to adjust and adapt the statistics.
Your opponent will question whether they feel lucky before peeking in its presence. Following this, at tier 9, we have the Hori 1.
Wow.
Based on the
Hori 1. Hori 1! Oh, it's the Hori 1. It's the second coming, boys and girls.
Of the Type 5, it has good armor and is capable of equipping either a 127 or 149mm.
This thing has such a rear-mounted turret. It's going to be very weird. Can you imagine trying to side scrape in this thing? That is going to be an awful weak point on the side unless it's incredibly thick. Yeah, I really hope this turret has quite a wide gun arc. Otherwise, it's going to really struggle with being able to side scrape and make it quite awkward.
Millimeter cannon. Finally, at tier 10, there is the Hori 3. Looking and playing very similar to the Jagdpanzer E100, only with a 149mm cannon.
And again, they're making it sound like that's impressive. It's not impressive for a tier 10 tank destroyer wargaming. Guerrilla has 150, right, with 750 Alpha. Jagdpanzer E100's packing a 170mm. You know, you've got FV215B 183s, FV4005s. We'll have to see what the statistics are going to mean for these tanks and whether they're actually going to be special or not. Maybe they're just going to have ridiculous frontal armor. Maybe they'll have like ridiculous upper plate and ridiculous superstructure. But can you really have like more ridiculous superstructure than the Jagdpanzer 100 without being crazy?
Before the release of the tech tree, you can expect to see the arrival of a tier 8 premium called...
It looks so weird. It looks like a tier 5 Soviet tank destroyer.
The Type 5 Kari. The tank has good frontal armor and sports a gun capable of firing 127mm shells.
Is it me or do these tanks look really fast? Do these tanks look really fast with the way that they're moving around? They look pretty quick to me. That's kind of intimidating with how fast these vehicles are moving around. If they say they're going to have like reasonably large caliber guns and good mobility and good armor as well, that could be quite scary.
With good penetration and great damage. For the in-depth technical details, armor layout, and more information, look out for news on our portal.
Fantastic. So I'm excited for the Japanese tank destroyers.
We have random events.
Yeah.
The first part of our dynamic objects mechanic teased in December.
This will be interesting.
These events will take place in certain areas of the map and will create new objects, which you can use tactically and strategically. Random events will create an environment for the player that evolves along with their battle.
I don't like the idea of that. I don't like the idea of, yo, you just get nuked on a bridge. I mean, I can understand the idea of the bridge falling down, which then changes the way that the map will be played in the latter part. But, gosh, I can imagine some Omega fails.
Our most veteran players, a fresh feel to gameplay.
It's interesting. It's an interesting idea.
Random events are framed in a red border with a timer notification.
Okay. I mean, that's obviously going to be really clear. But does anyone... I don't know. My immediate impressions as a long-term player is, gosh, this starts to look like Onslaught or Frontline or something. I don't like the idea of that. I feel like the maps are kind of classic and it kind of gives me an idea of like Onslaught areas, but also kind of fun in a way.
You should leave this zone before the timer runs out or bad things will happen to your tank.
Wow, that will completely change the way that this map works, blocking off the alleyway. And if they block off the alleyway, it will become like a big fight for who can win control of that alley with no opportunities for flanking fire.
For example, a blown-up bunker on the map will create debris. Then you can use parts of that debris as cover.
Oh, no, what? That's a bit weird. I can imagine there's going to be huge physics problems. I mean, interesting idea, but the ramifications for that will just be heavy tanks just pushing objects towards the enemy and not having to worry about it. I guess what they're trying to do is create these events to break stalemates from happening on the map.
Some locations will also feature new containers and concrete blocks positioned there from the start of battle.
Oh no, not positioned from the start of battle. Look, we don't need weak points on heavy tanks to be hidden. None of the light vehicles are going to be able to push these objects around. It's only going to be the heavy tanks. I think it's very important that the way that the maps work and the way that the battle develops has different phases and stages as the time goes, right? If Wargaming put this in, it might be just heavy tank, go into position, heavy tank, smork forwards, you know, just grind into your opponents right from the beginning. Another thing that's very concerning about this is that, like, imagine if you go for the block and then it's like people are rushing to go and try and get it, and then people are angry because, oh, he's got the block that I wanted, he's got the barrier, and then, I don't know, somebody come and pushes you or like just trolls you. It's kind of awkward when you create these important areas, and you know somebody will come and take it and like waste it for your team as well.
You can move with you as you push the flank. We will continue to work on night battles.
Did you see that it was actually looking like it was possibly getting destroyed there? Did you see that? Did you see how, look, it's clean, it's clean, it's clean. Maybe it can only absorb a few shots. See how it's kind of taking battle damage? So maybe Wargaming will make it so that it can only absorb like a certain amount of damage before it gets destroyed.
We'll continue to work on night battles and dynamic water behavior on maps. We know that players have been eager for both of these, and we will share more information as soon as we can.
So with regards to this, it'll be exciting with night battles if it like affects view range or it affects concealment. That'll be very interesting.
With this movable barrier, I guess I will go back to BORT main player.
Why? So you can destroy the barriers at the start of the game? Possibly. Thank you, MJRD. But with this, with the random events, with the water retreating, that's very exciting, as I said in my last video, with regards to maybe later on in the battle, light tanks can actually progress through these areas, or medium tanks can now progress to certain areas that weren't traversable at the start of the battle. So it's an opportunity for Wargaming to kind of slow down the way that the game goes.
Details about random events testing as part of the recon missions will come soon, so be ready to give us your feedback.
Could be fun. I like the idea of being able to access certain parts of the map later on. I like this idea a lot more than the having destructible or even indestructible objects at the start of the game available so you can just push immediately.
I hope you enjoyed the features that we just saw, ladies and gentlemen.
I did, Michael.
And let me assure you that there's more really good content coming your way.
Yes.
As of right now, it's a bit early to talk about it because it's obviously still in development.
I bet.
And a lot of changes are happening in the meantime.
Okay.
So it would be a bit unfair to give you already an overview.
Sure.
But I have also good news.
Yes.
In April, the next episode of this new series is already planned.
Yes.
And we are working on to write you more details on what we are cooking for you. By the way, just something I need to share with you. A couple of years ago, when I was still in community management, there was one feature the Germans back then always asked for. And these were night maps. And I'm really, really excited about this coming our way because I really share the passion about night maps. I've seen it in other games. It's really, really cool, and I think it will be a lot of fun to play. So enough about my passion for night maps. Obviously, there's more features that we are currently working on with the dev team, and a lot of focus obviously is also dedicated to reoccurring game modes such as Steel Hunter and the Onslaught mode. Those game modes are the backbone of World of Tanks and constantly need improvement. And obviously, we are doing this for you guys.
Okay, I like the idea of improving those game modes, but whether I'll play devil's advocate, I don't think they're the backbone of World of Tanks. What I think they are is the backbone of Wargaming repeatedly forcing you to have to participate in those kind of events. I don't think they're the backbone. I think it's the random queue that is the backbone of World of Tanks. The random queue is what 95% of the players come back after their like hard day at work to just go and play and blow off some steam and try to progress their account or like progress their tanks, right? And to make some credits, okay? So with all due respect, Wargaming, when you say that Onslaught is kind of like the backbone, no, it's not. It's a game mode that you're creating to add some diversity to the game, but really, the player base isn't asking for that diversity, at least in my opinion. And what you're doing with those events is trying to effectively create grinding points for players to have to go in and to have to participate in those things. Now, look, you can do that and you can make them fun and exciting, but the problem is when Wargaming makes special rewards from those events, like Onslaught, that players have to get to be able to be competitive inside the random queue. So when you put bond equipment, when you put experimental equipment, when you put even bonds that then we need to be able to use to either get more equipment or to just be able to participate in auctions, that is really where the fear of missing out and forced participation in those events comes. So while wargaming, I'm happy that you're trying to diversify away from the random queue, and I would love for you to create a game mode which is better than the random queue, but it's been like 12 years, and you haven't been able to create a game mode that is even close to the enjoyment of the random queue. So while it's good to focus on that, please, 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 please make sure you're putting the main development into the random queue and making that the enjoyable experience for the player base, because that's what, at least in my humble opinion, 80-90% of the player base really wants.
At the same time, like in any other MMO, balancing. Very important, and something we are dedicating a lot of time and resources to as well.
That's fantastic, and you've done a lot of good nerfs recently. I think the E3 and I think that the AMX M454 is great, but this is pointless unless you address the Chieftain, the 279E. You must nerf overpowered reward tanks at tier 10, otherwise all of the other balance changes are completely pointless and they're impotent. They're impotent changes unless you nerf the vehicles that are really needed. The 279E and the Chieftain must be nerfed, and that would be the thing that would get a lot of the player base respecting your buffs and nerfs. So please consider that.
So let's have a look what we prepared here for you.
First, let's share some details about Steel Hunter Reborn, a variation on the classic mode with faster paced action, respawns, and even AI. We're working on a mechanic that will allow players to respawn in a safe location, giving players an opportunity to get their bearings before getting back into the action.
So they've kind of done something like this before. It used to be called Rampage back in the day. This is nothing new. I think this is from like 2014, 2015. It was the original way to get the T22 medium that you could respawn. Also, I'd like to immediately highlight my initial opinion that respawning inside a battle royale mode kind of takes away what is special about it, and that kind of like thrill of life or death. And frankly, with Steel Hunter, if you die and then you go back into the garage, you pick another tank and you go back in, within like a minute or two, you're playing again anyway. So respawning, I'll be very interested to see what the community think. I don't think it's really necessary in a battle royale game mode, and I think that it's going to actually detract from it, at least in my humble opinion. Secondly, with regards to bots, as soon as you put bots inside a battle royale game mode, it's no longer really PvP. You're playing like the old PvE Berlin game mode, which was literally the most boring event that Wargaming ever made. So very concerned about the bots. They work in something like the Waffenträger game mode, but I really don't think they'll work in Battle Royale. All it will be is you go and farm, you farm the bots, and then you use that to go and smite down players. And I really don't think that that's going to be the best way forward for Steel Hunter, because it's not Battle Royale.
Should you find yourself struggling to level up quickly, or maybe you're just a cautious player, we are also planning to reduce the gap in power between the levels.
Okay, reducing the gap in power between the levels, that's a good idea. I like that, because frankly, it is a bit outrageous how easy it is if you're like a level 5 tank to deal with a level 4 tank. It is a ridiculous advantage. So I like that idea. But my concern is that people will use like the bots to be able to level up and then avoid any of kind of like the actual confrontation, and then it's just everyone driving around on tier 7 tanks.
You the confidence to seize the moment and secure that much needed damage and loot.
When they say seize the moment and secure that much needed damage and loot, in my opinion, in Battle Royale, the whole point is that you're actually taking that risk, and it's meant to be competitive. It's meant to be whoever takes the risk and actually outplays and secures that kill that gets the loot. It's not meant to be just you go around, you pick up loot. I'm not sure what any of you think, but having recently played Steel Hunter and Sealing, just an Harlequin can just drive around, avoid all combat, easily be able to outspeed everything, pick up all of the loot, and then just get to level 7 and then start fighting. While it should be a valid playstyle, it shouldn't be risk-free. And the more that Wargaming make a play style like that risk-free, the more that you'll make it so that it's not actually about who is best at all of the stages of Steel Hunter and who can just perform well in that kind of max level 7 fight.
Additionally, the heal ability called Recovery has also been reworked to better support players as they fight it out on the battlefield.
How?
Meaning you shouldn't be afraid to really keep your hit points topped up, if it makes tactical sense, of course.
That's kind of like a conflicting statement, right? You shouldn't be afraid, but if it makes tactical sense, I think that the heal is fine in the game the way that it is. And I think if they've got one concern, it should be that some of the heavy tanks are actually far too powerful with the way that they heal. They can literally just outlast multiple vehicles or outlast continuous engagements. And it seems to be pretty crazy from that perspective, at least in my opinion.
Altogether, you can expect Steel Hunter Reborn to be an easier version of Steel Hunter that's just as competitive and fun.
Well, it won't be just as competitive if it's easier. It's not going to be as competitive. Things in life that are easy are not competitive. If everyone can do it, then it is not going to be competitive. Because it's like watching TV then. There's no competitive television watching, is there? And the easier that you make the progression system, the less competitive the game mode is going to be and just random. Whether it's going to be fun, I really don't think most people are playing Steel Hunter for fun, frankly, wargaming. I know you're investing time into this. I know you want to try and make it work. Just don't waste your resources on it. Put those resources in making the random queue fun, because this one, people are only really participating in it for the rewards.
A mode that you will want to play time and time again. To further encourage this, we will be making changes to armor layouts and armor screens, as well as improving the auto-aim feature and adjusting shells, which should make dealing damage on the move
What was that? Hold on, can we rewind for a second?
Screens.
Watch this. Like, the auto-aim's not even... What? What's this? What, like, we're gonna give an aimbot? The shells aren't even hitting! Why would Wargaming publish this? We're going to make changes to armor layouts and auto-aiming. Look how dodgy this is. Look at this. Look at the shell. Boop. What? What? It's like 30 degrees away from the tank. Oh my gosh. So what Wargaming realized is that their player base are pretty much older gamers who are not very competitive. They decided to put a battle royale game mode in, and they realized that it's not popular because it's too hard. And so now they're going to try and make like the world's most dumb, easy to play battle royale. And then it just won't be worth playing. The battle royale is already random queue, and the closer that you make it and easier, then what's the point? What's the point?
The Onslaught game mode will make an appearance repeatedly through 2023.
Repeatedly? So we're going to have multiple Onslaught seasons. God, that's going to be a lot of grinding.
Starting with a relaunch of the Season of the Griffin.
Sorry, when they say relaunch, we just had the Season of the Griffin. Why do they need to relaunch the Season of the Griffin? Why don't there are lots of other mythical animals, right? Didn't we just have the Griffin? Why don't they make it Season of the Dragon or something, or Season of the Unicorn, or Season of the Chimera or something? Why would they redo the Griffin?
New, mode-specific progressive style and various quality of life improvements.
It's just the same. It's just now that it's red and gold and red and white and red. I swear that one's the same for the end one. Am I getting confused?
Based on player reactions to the first episode. Relaunch of Season of the Griffin will see changes to the progression system for victories, making the missions easier to complete and lessen the time you wait before receiving rewards.
Okay.
We will also introduce new maps to the map pool, Airfield and Glacier. All maps will be continually balanced throughout the year. We used a lot of data and player feedback from the first Onslaught to rebalance the perks to increase the variety in tactics and tanks.
Nice, so it looks like they're buffing and nerfing. So it looks like the artillery from the CS63 is getting nerfed. That one is from the Progetto 65. That one's from like the Badgers getting buffed. Artillery's getting buffed by the looks of it. All of the light tank ones are getting buffed. It looks like the heals and the Inspire are kind of staying the same. I don't know what this one was. Was this one from the AMX M454? That once you've managed to get some shots in, that you managed to get a heal? Okay.
Chosen in the game mode. We will also remove the ping limit for players in super platoons, and increase ping limit for players in general, making coordination easier.
I like that idea.
Additionally, we will remove the limitations rank matching in a super platoon and make sure super platoons do not meet solo players.
That's a good change. Super platoons should only play against super platoons. Great change.
Throughout spring, we will be testing internally additional mechanics for Onslaught. Player sentiment and data will be at the heart of the changes and balancing throughout the year.
Player sentiment and feedback, great. I mean, wargaming, if you can really amalgamate the feedback of tens of thousands of people and make it a sentiment, which is obviously going to be very subjective from that regard, and actually turn it into real important changes to Onslaught, all the power to you if you can manage that. That's impressive.
With a large update of changes like qualification battles expected in autumn, more detail on those coming later.
Frankly, they just shouldn't actually do the Season of the Griffin again until they've got the qualification battles in. There's no point in having all of the sweaty nerds grinding from debutant all the way up again and just farming all of the casual players. It ruins it. Imagine if in League of Legends, if they didn't have the qualification battles and everyone had to grind back from like silver all the way back up to diamond or like challenger again. You'd literally just be every other game just feeding a hardcore player on the enemy team a win and not actually getting to play against people who are of your own level.
And finally, Frontline should return in the middle of 2023.
Great.
For those who want to grind their tier 8 tanks or credits.
Perfect.
Firstly, we have been hard at work optimizing the game mode in order to improve both stability and performance for most players.
Funky.
There will be a brand new desert map called Fata Morgana, and as you can see here, it's a very beautiful map.
It does look
with
cool.
some cool map locations that are both unique and
That'll
beautiful.
be fun. That'll be fun.
At least
that'll be fun. I think it'll be a real good opportunity to have a little bit of Frontline refresh. And Frontline is the kind of game mode that it's very fun to have a new map as well, because a meta develops in Frontline and then the map gets played the same way. And so if you are somebody who really loves Frontline, playing actively at the beginning, you'll be able to learn the map faster than everyone else and really be able to make some power plays and probably get some crazy farming going.
I think so. The main goal for this map was to improve and increase play between the lanes and give players a feeling of a truly huge map with lots of action.
That's interesting that they're going to try and create flexibility between the lanes, but as soon as you get rid of the idea of lanes, then they're no longer lanes. And so do you really need to have multiple cap circles going across the map? It'd be very interesting to see how it plays out.
The Craftwork map has also seen extensive rebalancing,
Nice changes
which was
there.
tested recently on Common Test. All these
Nice
changes
changes
will
there.
balance the win chance for both teams by increasing the cover in key
Nice,
locations
nice.
for both attacking and defending teams.
I like this
We
idea.
will also relocate key objectives in order to balance how easy they are to attack or defend.
Well, this is fantastic. Really good stuff by Wargaming to see that they're actually making significant changes to Frontline rather than just copy-pasting. Good stuff. I like it.
Depending on the zone. You can expect various quality of life improvements the next time you see Frontline. For instance, Battle Reserves will now upgrade simultaneously across all 3 slots. For every player that earns the rank of General in your team, limited to a total of 10, every player in that team will gain a bonus to their tank characteristics.
Wow.
Once more, this is just a quick
Wow. So you're telling me that if you can get General early, that you're going to basically buff the rest of your team? Pretty cool.
peek into the future of Frontline, and you can expect more details about the mode as it comes closer to release.
Cool.
Welcome back. Now let's talk about the one-off events that we are working on as well, such as the Fun Event platform and some of the other seasonal events that we are working on. One of them being the Waffenträger event, which is my personal favorite, simply because I'm biased here. And when I hear myself saying Waffenträger, it sounds actually very odd to me. I should say Waffenträger. That's the only way how to pronounce it. Enough of the Waffenträger. That's for later this year. Now let's have a look what else we are reworking and rebalancing in order to improve our favorite game.
Yeah.
We plan to have continual vehicle rebalancing in 2023. As you have seen already from our common test, we're starting with a focus on improving out-of-meta tanks to make them more popular and appealing to play.
Fantastic.
As well as balancing those vehicles that data shows are currently overperforming slightly. You can
Just what? What? It just makes actually no sense. Overperforming. Data shows overperforming. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look to see what's overperforming. Is the Progetto overperforming? It's literally in the middle. It is worse than the Pattern, the 140, the 430U, the Leopard, the 121, the E50M, the SDB1, the UDES 1516, and the CS63. Wargaming, you're actually mad. You're mad that you would nerf the Progetto 65 and the Standard B. You should nerf the CS63, the UDES 1516, the SDB1, the E50M, all of those tanks before the Progetto. Literally mad. And I haven't heard anyone from Wargaming who has reached out to me to actually give me like reasoning behind. So please explain. Tell me why I'm an idiot. Tell me why I have no idea. Tell me why. I'm saying this seriously. I would love it. I would love for somebody from Wargaming to actually reach out and tell me why they are nerfing the Progetto 65, because it makes absolutely no blooming sense. It makes no sense at all as to why the Italian medium tanks are being punished. Why? Because they're literally in the middle of the list towards the bottom? No sense at all. Like, does Wargaming... Like, even if you order it by damage, I have no idea what they are doing. No idea.
Check out the article on our portal for more details about these current balance changes.
Yeah, but the article doesn't actually say anything as to why they're nerfing the Progetto 65.
You can be sure this is not the last set of vehicle...
Okay, let's make this more constructive. I want to make sure this is constructive. So, Wargaming, please, in the future, when you make vehicle balancing changes, please explain why the tanks that you're nerfing are detrimental to the meta and why they are overperforming. Please give an extensive thing, because it's very important. A lot of your player base care about their tanks. You know, they're very personal to them. So please humor us by giving us an explanation, a detailed explanation, because you've got lots of resources, lots of statistics. Let us know why these tanks are being nerfed. Because you just say, we're buffing and nerfing this. And it's understandable. And for a lot of the vehicles, we get it. We get it. We do get it. We get why the 54 is being nerfed. Pretty obvious. Nobody will cry that the 54 is being nerfed, apart from pure meta slaves. I don't think really people are going to cry so much about the E3 being nerfed, but really the 268 version 4 and the Minotauro are the ones that should be adjusted at the same time. Otherwise, what you do is just take one tank out of the equation, and then two other ones gain an even more powerful buff from the fact that their competition is being nerfed. But Wargaming, I love the fact that you're buffing and nerfing tanks, but please, you must back it up with reasoning and statistics.
Rebalancing we'll see in 2023. This is just the first wave of the year, with more potential changes in the future based on observations and evaluations of vehicle performance. Finally, the crew rework will be introduced in 3 main stages. In Stage 1, we will convert all skills and perks into a single perk system, and we will rework and rebalance those perks, as well as...
I've already talked about this. I could talk about this for half an hour. I'm not going to do that now. Please go and watch my video towards the end of last year to find out my full opinion on this. I think that this could literally be the death of World of Tanks.
Introduce new ones. Our aim is to give you more options towards perk selection that better suit your ability and playstyle.
No, these aren't options. These are mandatory skills that you must acquire to be competitive inside the game. It's not optional. It's not optional. Don't try and pull that on us. It is mandatory, and you must have all of these skills pretty much with the way that they're being changed if you want to remain competitive inside the game.
Additionally, all perks will now activate as soon as you train them to 1%, and
I mean, that's an interesting change, but it doesn't really matter too much.
Become more effective as they train closer to 100%. In Stage 2, we plan to overhaul and improve the user interface.
That's
making
good.
it easier for you to work with your crew and manage your barracks.
I like that idea.
We are sure that old and new players alike will appreciate this change.
This is interesting because it looks like the crew still have their individual skills even at Stage 2. Very interesting how that is going to work. So you're telling me that your crew are going to still have the same skill system as they have now? It's just they're changing the way that the skills work? What's the point of this then?
In Stage 3, We will remove below 100% training levels for crew when being trained and retrained.
I mean, this is cool. I like it. I don't think that there should be a below 100% in World of Tanks. I don't think anyone has a problem with this. I don't know why this isn't the first stage that would be put out, because it's the first stage that actually makes sense in the system. And with regards to turning your crew into crew books, I think it'd be better to have that doable at stage 1, surely, than stage 3. That is the most important thing to do. Turning your useless crew into crew books is what is going to be the most important thing to do, to then reinvest into other crew. It's going to be a lot of work. I've got 700 different tanks. I've probably got about 500 different crews that I'm going to have to do this for. It's going to take a long time. And I would like to have that privilege of being able to do it earlier rather than later at the end of the event.
More details about Stage 2 and 3 will be announced as we get closer to their updates. But we know many of you have had questions about planned crew changes in 2023.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about what you can look forward to in the
so they just said that we have more questions, but they didn't answer them. Okay.
next episode, starting with more details on the new gun mechanic, autocannons. Based on the comments in the last video, we want to clarify that it's not going to be an activation of the machine guns on the tanks, but a brand new gun mechanic. Furthermore, we plan to announce the new line of British wheeled mediums! Oh my gosh! Oh my lord, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, British mediums coming from the Covenant. Holy crap, that could be very exciting for me. Oh my lord. That British wheeled mediums? Goodness gracious. With a premium tank at tier 8, a whole new branch. Maybe this will be the Christmas. I reckon this will be for Christmas or January next year. British wheeled medium tanks that will have one speed mode and move slower than current wheeled vehicles.
So they're basically going to be like current medium speed, but they're going to have wheels. So I guess they just won't have to repair their wheels like they repair tracks. So pretty much the same as tanks. So it's going to be basically another British medium line.
More details will come about this brand.
It looks like a fatty BR, doesn't it? Oh my god. It's like the French tank that grew up.
New type of medium as we get further on in the year.
That doesn't look like a World War II / Cold War tank, does it?
That's all from me for this episode of Roadmap Highlights. I'll now pass you back to Michael.
Thank you, Tankers. I hope you are as excited as we are about the features that we presented to you today and that we are planning to bring to the game in 2023.
For sure.
Head to the comment section if you have any questions about what you have seen in the video today. Our community team will browse through it and happy to answer any of your questions, and we are taking the feedback. Also keep in mind that in April we are presenting the next episode and give you even more details about what's to come in 2023.
This is great. It's great.
Thank you for staying with us. I hope you enjoyed the show.
I did.
See you next time.
Thank you, Michael.
Bye-bye,
Thank you
guys.
for sharing. And this shows a lot that you have Michael Broick, who's actually undertaking being a face and a force of this. And that means a lot. Michael is an absolute legend. He's been there since the beginning. As I said at the start of the video, and I'll finish it. Absolute tour de force. Incredible. All right, so ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was my look at Roadmap Highlights February 2023. There's a lot to talk about here, and I would thoroughly recommend you go and check out Wargaming's official channel and leave their comments and write a comment also down below on this video. I'm going to leave a comment. I'm going to say, why are you, unironically, okay, I can't even spell, unironically, oh, Jesus, autocorrect, please fix me. No, wait a minute. I did spell it right. Unironically. Yeah, it is right. It's just apparently there's not an un. Unironically, why are you nerfing the Progetto 65? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you from a concerned Italian lover. Just don't tell Tanya. Okay, there we go. Boom. Please let us know. Why are they nerfing the Progetto? Anyway, that was it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And I know Twitch chat's saying like, oh, he's streaming and making a YouTube video at the same time. But I feel like this was too important to miss. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much. And as always, you've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Nearly forgot at the end. But yeah, it's really exciting stuff. It's great.